Let's try this. Which of the following do you think is true? If you agree any of these statements, you may be suffering from outdated music production tips you should consider abandoning in 2024. There are many like these. Let's go through them all. Make your bass always mono. This is one of the most outdated tips ever. Let's do a test on my own track. What do you think about this low end? And now, nobody could convince me mono version of the sound is better. Let's try something else. I think it's day and night difference. The updated version of this tip should be anything below 60 Hz probably should be mono. Human ears cannot really perceive stereoness of super deep basses, so we won't even understand it. And on top of that, stereo deep bass will cause a lot of issues with mastering, and it is sometimes nightmare in clubs due to phasing. What you should do instead is keep everything below 60 Hz as mono as possible, but going up you can gradually open the stereo field. By the way, the first track that I showed is a track from me and Fadeum, and we just released it. If you want to take a listen, I will put the links below. Don't add any time effects on your master. I think this misconception comes mostly due to the belief that master channel is for mastering engineers and you shouldn't do anything there. But what do you think we DJs do? We just add bunch of effects to your track. Let me give you an example. I have this build up. I want it to be super strong. I have bunch of master effects here. Gaining down a bit, adding bunch of reverb and high passing the sound, making it super dramatic. Obviously, you can achieve similar results if you just route everything to another secondary auxiliary channel and add the effects there, or add the same effect on each individual channel, but this is just the fastest way to do it. Only issue with this approach, you should do the master automations at the end of your track. If you do it before arrangement and when you do things around quite a bit, the automations will be left over. Finish every track. It is a torture to finish a track that you don't like, and you don't have to put you through that. The right way of saying this is finish the tracks that you like. Then whole process will be much more fun and you will at least finish something that you enjoy. EQ all the resonance frequencies. I think people do this because they see a lot of YouTube videos, but you shouldn't EQ anything if it doesn't bother you. Resonance just means sustained, strong harmonic sound. A lot of the timbre of the sound may come from those sustained resonances, and if you remove all the resonances, you will basically killing the sound. The resonance is like a stabbing friend. It will stab your ear and then you know that you have to take them off. I have a whole video about this. I will leave it here if you want to see more. Produce only when you are inspired. Inspiration is only useful if you can make use of it. By making habit of producing every day, you are actually making it possible that when inspiration comes, you are sitting right there and you can use that inspiration. So you should discipline yourself to produce constantly, regardless of inspiration comes or not. Use always cut with EQ. The idea is when you are using EQ, avoid doing things like this and use always cuts. Let's do an experiment. Tell me which of these EQs you prefer. In reality, both EQ is almost identical, but one uses boost, the other gets the same result by cutting. And the main difference is volume difference. People who says use only cut say it because your ear would go for the louder sign and you believe that you are doing positive things even though you're just constantly increasing your volumes with your EQs. But the same applies even for the cuts. You're also making huge volume differences. The correct way is using an EQ that has gain compensation. In this case, if you go to the FA filter, for example, you will see this A button. So whatever you do here, it will adjust the final volume, so you are not fooled by the loudness. If you are scared of the loudness, this is a much better option. If you are enjoying the video, please consider like and subscribe. It really helps a ton. Take as much as time it takes to finish a track. If you're a hobbyist, I don't see any problem with this one. But if you want to become a professional producer, time is your most important resource. And on top of that, the most important improvements come from finishing tracks. Improvements like energy control, emotional expressiveness, arrangement and execution. And only way to learn these concepts is finishing more and more tracks. On top of that, there is a bigger danger that is called ear fatigue. The longer you listen to something, the boring it gets. So you would like to finish the tracks that you love most the fastest because you want to keep the excitement, finish the track while everything is fresh. Otherwise, you will end up making worse. AI is only for people who can't produce. This is probably the most insecure producer take. AI is just a tool and you should use it to improve your music. Examples like AI stamp separation tools I use all the time. For example, you can separate drums from a track and learn from it, or you can rip your favorite vocals and make a remix of it. Very useful. And on top of that, there are tons of different good AI plugins for mixing and mastering. If there's anything that improves your music, you should be using it. You can't use presets if you want to make good music. This is one of the most outdated tips that you can get. Presets are really great for quickly starting an idea or getting inspiration. On top of that, you can use presets to improve your sound design as well. As a sound designer, I hear my presets used by top artists from Afterlife, Anjuna Deep, Armada and so on. So don't fall for this trap. Have big selection of sounds. This is a curse. Looks like blessing. You should have a core library. This is important for two reasons. First, your core library will be one of the main elements that makes you create your own sound. So you sound consistent in between different tracks. Moreover, having a core library means that you will be able to finish your tracks much faster because you won't find yourself really scrolling through the tons of different sounds and presets. So if you are serious about your production, create a core library and stick to it. Mixing is complicated, so you should invest tons of time on it. Another, I think, very outdated command and mixing is mostly about a volume fader and an EQ. I think understanding Pareto principle is very important here. 80% of the improvement that you are going to make on your mix will come from the 20% of adjustments that you make. So the main idea is fix the biggest problems. The obvious problems should be very visible and most of them will be simply mixed by EQ and volume fader. You will already get your mix almost release ready. So make simple decisions, solve biggest issues and let the Pareto guide you. Make just good music. It will find its way. This sounds so romantic, but this is a big lie. Some good music will indeed find its way, but most won't. We live in an algorithm world and algorithms won't work until they have enough data point. Data point meaning that enough people listened and reacted to your song. And because there are like thousands of tracks released every single day, algorithm won't go out of its way and push your track until it has enough data point. So it is your job to make people listen to your track until you reach a threshold. Always layer your sounds. This is something that is left over from early EDM scene where we had every lead sound layered to death. But we quickly overcome this phase and right after, I think craving for analog or simpler sounds exploded. Today we live in between, so my suggestion would be layer only if you feel like it adds value to your sound, and remember that layering is not the only way to make a sound more interesting. You can do all those stuff with distortion, things like frequency modulation, phase modulation, waveform modulation. This can go forever. So learn all these different types of sound design techniques. Don't watch YouTube tutorials. Okay, if you are watching this video, you probably don't listen to this advice, but I still find good stuff on YouTube. YouTube is a big ocean. There are good things and there are terrible things. So my suggestion is like, don't believe everything that you see on YouTube, but don't shy away from watching new tutorials either. There are really cool stuff as well. You need a good gear to make good songs. Let me make it clear. You don't need any gear to make a hit song in 2024. But there are reasons to get good gear. For example, if you like a touch hardware and want to feel it while making your music, get a hardware. You don't need to buy the most expensive one. There are really tons of cheap options that will get almost identical sound for you. Clipping and distortion is bad. Distortion is probably the best thing happen in music industry. So clipping and distortion is very useful tool. For example, if you want to get loud mixes, get a clipper. If you want to get aggressive sounds, learn to use distortion. If you want to get aggressive sounds that is also super loud, use both clipping and distortion at the same time. If you are making electronic dance music, you really pay attention to these two concepts. I will add a video over here. You can learn more there. Technical skills are the most important things a producer must invest in. A very bad tip. Storytelling and composition is the most important thing for a producer. You are not an engineer, you are a producer. You are basically a modern composer. Your job is create a story with your song and make people really get captivated by it. And everything else is just a tool to make this happen. And finally, the most important point, if you like something, that is the correct way. If a YouTuber like me comes and says, no, that sounds bad, but if you like the sound, then I am wrong and you are right. Remember, your song, your decisions, your story. Don't let anybody take that from you. If you want to, I have more things over here that you can learn from. Take a look.